Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with a very special bonus live video update tonight with some very important information. Now, I mentioned on Thursday night's video that I already have a commitment on Sunday night, so I can't do a video on Sunday night. So instead, I'm doing a very special update tonight to address the mainstream media's latest desperate attempts to try and discredit groups such as ours. Now, of course, this is not the first time this has happened. I'm sure, sadly, it won't be the last either. And anyone who watched the very first videos we did right back from the start of this year will see that this is exactly what I warned people was likely to happen with increasing frequency this year as more people started waking up, and of course the system started, fighting back to, stop people from learning the truth. Well, the latest insanity really absolutely takes the cake, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys to figure out for yourselves just how desperate the various governments are, and of course their puppet media outlets, when they start printing absolute blatant outrageous lies like what I'm about to get into. Now, just before I get into the actual story itself, I want to give you a little bit of context. Before I start, we had a couple of people contact us over the last day or so about a particular media article that came up yesterday regarding specifically the Aussie speeding fines, guys. So I actually reached out to them, and they sent me this particular email, which you can see here. It says, hi Mike, just thought you might like to know that you are right again. Those in charge are definitely trying to attack us and discredit us because too many people are waking up to the truth. We were approached by a reporter from ABC News who asked us a few questions about this ex-magistrate David Heilpern, who we know you've addressed before, and his claims now trying to link our group with these so-called sovereign citizens. You can see his email and our response below. Well, it seems like some other muppet at news.com.au, who didn't actually bother to contact us, saw Heilpern's conference and did an absolute hatchet job, whilst also trying desperately to discredit us by making completely outrageous claims that of course have absolutely no basis in reality. What's funny is that we actually made it to the top story on the whole of news.com.au yesterday morning, which is fantastic because, as you well know, there's no such thing as bad publicity, and we've seen a huge increase in people seeing through this reporter's rubbish and joining our group. And they've sent us a little screenshot of that. So that's the news.com.au website there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's yesterday's date, and that's the absolute #1 top story in the top left-hand corner of the website there. So well done to the Aussie speeding fines, guys. It says, anyway, we thought you might have a bit of fun pointing out all of the holes in this story, and they've given us a link to the story I'm about to go through on one of your videos or radio shows. Keep fighting the good fight, and we look forward to hearing of your next exciting success story. So they've sent us a copy of, and this, of course, is the email that they were sent originally from the reporter before they actually did the story. So you can see that there. And so I'll sort of go backwards a bit here. So this is from this Bruce McKenzie. And the message to the ASF guys. Hi, Bruce McKenzie from ABC News here. Your website was mentioned in this recent media release. Would you care to comment, please? A Southern Cross University expert has exposed websites giving dodgy legal advice, warning that people who take it could find themselves on a fast track to prison. Wow, pretty serious stuff. Associate Professor David Heilpern, Dean of Law at Southern Cross University, will present his findings at a conference hosted by the University of Technology of Sydney on Friday, November 24th. The Pseudo-Law and the Administration of Justice Conference will explore a range of issues associated with the troubling rise of the sovereign citizens movement. As part of his research, Associate Professor Heilpern signed up for the to for-profit websites peddling the false promise people could use legal loopholes and tactics to get out of traffic offences. Of most concern is that these websites and publications actually encourage subscribers to break the law in a manner that could lead them to prison, he said. The Sovereign Citizens Movement, a disparate group of conspiracy theorists and anti-government activists, is bonded by the idea that government law does not apply to them unless they provide consent. So the ASF guys have written back going, "Hi Bruce, yes, we'd be more than happy to respond. We're not sure how detailed a response you're after, but we'll start with the following, but please by all means, if you require any more information, don't hesitate to ask. Firstly, there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. The term is an oxymoron created by people like David Heilpern to try and discredit valuable information such as ours. To clarify, the only sovereign citizen that could have ever existed was Queen Elizabeth II when the UK was part of the European Union. At that time, she was both the sovereign of the UK and a citizen of the European Union. There are simply no other entities that could be lawfully considered a sovereign citizen. We reject that term entirely, and we do not use it or refer to it anywhere on our website. Secondly, we vehemently deny any claims that we have any information that in any way encourages people to break any laws, and most assuredly not anything that could land them in jail. We would require David Heilpern to provide evidence of any such claims, and we reserve our right to take legal action against him and your publication should any such claims be linked to our organisation in any way without substantiating evidence. Thirdly, we have 7 pages full of testimonials, and of course they put a link to their testimonials page. Many with specific details that can be easily verified to prove that our information and strategies work just as we say they do, and hundreds of people have successfully challenged a wide range of different fines, including various traffic fines, by implementing them. Finally, courts in Australia currently operate under the claimed authority or power of the King of Australia. However, there is no instrument at law that actually creates that title for the current monarch, King Charles III, to adopt for use within Australia and its territories. Now, to clarify, one can look to the Royal Styles and Titles Act of 1973 to see the creation of the title of the Queen of Australia, which was a title created for Queen Elizabeth II to adopt for use within Australia and its territories when she was alive. So the question we would respectfully urge you to ask David Heilpern is, where is the instrument at law that creates the title of the King of Australia? If you can't provide it, then it is deemed not to exist, and therefore there is no head of power currently in existence within the Commonwealth of Australia for any Parliament, state or Commonwealth, to make laws or operate valid lawful courts that is traceable back to the monarch. Accordingly, without a valid lawful head of power, there can be no valid lawful laws or valid lawful courts to enforce them. Again, we're more than happy to elaborate on these points or answer any other questions you may have. Thanks, the Aussie Speeding Fines team. So that's what they sent. They got no response. And then, of course, there was this other article that came out. Now, I want to be clear. That email came from somebody at ABC News, and the actual article came from news.com.au. So they were 2 different reporters. Again, I'm about to read the actual story that came out, and what you really want to pay attention to is not only the blatant lies and the desperate attempts to link the Aussie Speeding Fines guys with these, sovereign citizens, but also the complete and utter lack of evidence for any of the outrageous claims that they make. So if you haven't seen this latest article, there it is there. And it is entitled, "Disturbing Tactics Used by Members of Sovereign Citizen Cult." Now, please understand that, of course, is different to what the original heading was, which, of course, they must have been called out on, because that was, of course, absolute garbage, dangerous website that will ruin your life. Now, that was an absurd and ridiculous claim that they had no basis to make, and thankfully, at least, they withdrew that claim and that heading and changed it to this heading, which, mind you, is equally ridiculous, but at least it's less offensive. So, disturbing tactics used by members of sovereign citizen cult. Australians are being sucked into a dangerous cult with deceptive tricks that cost a fortune and can leave them with a criminal record. Really, because last time I looked, the Aussie speeding fines book was, I think, $87. So I'm not sure. I mean, I know people are doing things tough and all the rest of it, but since when did $87 constitute a fortune? That seems, again, to be completely outrageous and baseless claim. Sovereign citizens peddling insane interpretations of the law have been blasted over their inventive tactics to corrupt everyday Australians. Again, I just explained to you why the whole term sovereign citizens is an oxymoron. It can't exist at law. So every reference in this article to sovereign citizens is completely without basis and makes no legal sense whatsoever, much like the rest of the article. The pseudo-law aficionados have taken to charging hefty subscription fees. Again, a one-off fee for life of $87. Hardly a hefty subscription fee. To websites that sell the false promise of getting out of paying fines for breaking the law. We'll come back to that in a moment. The disturbing discovery and the worrying lengths some such groups go to in efforts to flout Australia's legal system has been researched at length by Southern Cross University expert, Associate Professor David Hilpern. He paid about $150 as part of his research for access to a site called Aussie Speeding Fines. Again, the book's $87, so I'm not sure what he's paid $150 for, but who knows? That guaranteed its material would give subscribers information that would help them avoid legal penalisation. Speaking with news.com.au last week after presenting his findings at a University Technology Sydney conference, he detailed the absolute garbage coming out of the sovereign citizen movement. Again, Aussie Speeding Fines has nothing to do with sovereign citizens. They don't mention sovereign citizens anywhere on their website. They don't mention sovereign citizens anywhere in their book. And in fact, we make it clear that the whole concept of sovereign citizens simply can't exist at law. On the Speeding Fines site, he observed a series of deeply problematic items, including the promotion of methods to delay or void fines, which typically involved lying in a statutory declaration. Again, I've had another look through the website and I can't see anywhere on that website that ever recommends or even suggests or even mentions anyone lying on a statutory declaration. And in fact, when you read the ebook, it tells you don't ever nominate a driver if you don't know for sure that they were driving. They make that very clear that you should never lie on a statutory declaration. So once again, the only person lying here is David Hilpern. There's two things with that. You can't lie to courts. That's a criminal offence. If only it was a criminal offence to lie to the media, David. Never mind. And secondly, it doesn't work anyway. Associate Professor David Hilpern, who was a magistrate for 22 years, said, like that means something. All that means is that you're an advanced liar for hire for 22 years. Big whoop-de-doo. Magistrates and prosecutors have seen this time and time again, and none of it's ever worked. Really? Again, we'll get back to that in a moment. Sites run by sovereign citizens were just taking people's money and feeding them absolute garbage, he said, adding that in most cases recommendations they made would end up costing more through the court process. Whilst to most everyday Aussies, the people attached to the sovereign citizen movement were nothing more than an occasional nuisance, Associate Professor Hilpern warned they had a dangerous side too. Ooh. At the pointy end of this movement is the violence. We had the tragic deaths of 2 police in Queensland last year. There's been 2 sieges in New South Wales in the last 12 months where people spouting pseudo-law have attacked, he said. Again, we at Know Your Rights Group have never suggested any kind of violence or even any kind of, escalated arguments with people. In fact, we say stay away from that and leave it for the court system. And again, from what I've seen on the Aussie Speeding Fine site and in their ebook, there's nothing along those lines either. The movement also appeared to be growing, he added, with organisations claiming to have tens of thousands of subscribers. Well, I can assure you, we most assuredly do. And again, all you need to do is look at our Facebook group and you'll see we have 138,000 followers. It's clearly listed there on our Facebook page. So there's no claims here. It's completely verified. Even if it's half that. No, David, it's actually all of that. Have a look on the page. There are people making significant amount of money of peddling illegal gobbledygook. Well, I'd like to know who's making all the money, but I can assure you it's certainly not us. People involved in the painfully incorrect interpretation of the law have far-reaching impacts on how the country operates, with these groups contributing to the legal system being clogged up. Well, now we're actually getting to some truth. And absolutely the system is being clogged up because people have had enough and they're saying, no, I'm not just going to blindly roll over and just pay up just because you asked me to. I'm going to take this to court. And yes, I'm going to play my part in ensuring proper due process, interesting concept, David, maybe you should look it up, is actually followed. This movement is the ultimate selfishness. Really? Because you want to actually get them to prove their case against you, you're being selfish. Gotta love the way the media twists things, don't you? It's saying the law doesn't apply to me because I've declared myself a sovereign citizen. Again, show us anywhere on our website, the Aussie Speeding Fines website, our book, the Aussie Speeding Fines book, anywhere the term sovereign citizen is mentioned at all. I challenge you. Please, let me know. People with such self-righteous attitudes typically felt they knew more than those upholding the legal system, including judges and police. Well, again, I can tell you as honestly as I'm standing here, I've stood before magistrates and the magistrates have said to me, Mr. Palmer, I've never heard that argument before. And I've responded, so what are you doing trying to sit there in judgment of me? Again, this is a completely factual reality, David. Best you come to terms with it. They can be a danger to the community too, which affects everyone. So defending a baseless claim against you is now a danger to the community. Wow, too bad, too sad for all those innocent people out there that have been falsely charged with something, because you're a danger to the community. Adding that many felt they could drive unlicensed and unregistered on the road and speed without any legal ramifications. Again, you look up any of the videos that I did for the ASF guys back in the day, and I made it clear I don't drive around at dangerous speeds just because I understand the law and the true ramifications of it. And we certainly never recommend that to anyone, and neither do the ASF guys. Again, completely baseless claims that David makes to try and generate some kind of emotional reaction from people. In many cases, the friends and family of people swept into the movement were also being ripped off because they were being tricked into signing up to dodgy websites. I think all the terms and conditions of all the websites are pretty clearly outlined there, so I'm not sure how anyone's tricked into signing up for anything. While Associate Professor Hilpern signed up to Aussie Speeding Fines, he paid a $147 fee to gain access to an online book that could not be copied and had an undetermined expiry date. Again, I'm not aware of any online digital book for $147, David, so again, not sure what you're getting at there. And again, there's no undetermined expiry date. It's very clear. You become an ebook member, you're an ebook member for life. There is no expiry. That's all clearly spelled out on the website if you actually care to read it. It's only available through the website, and of course it has a time frame when presumably you have to pay more. No, it's a one-off fee for life. That's very clearly explained, David. Try reading, mate. He said, joking, it was about the cost of an average speed ticket. Actually, I think it's probably about half the cost of an average speed ticket. He strongly urged Australians to avoid and don't believe what they read on these websites. Don't give your money to people who are essentially peddling garbage, he said. Like lawyers. Why is the sovereign citizen movement gaining traction? While it was impossible to summarise why Australians were clinging to pseudo-law ideologies, Associate Professor Hilpern suspected it had something to do with a search for nostalgia. No, it's called a search for the truth, mate. Very simple. I think it's the ultimate me action. If the gateway drug to addiction is trauma, then the gateway to sovereign citizen movement is traffic law, he said. Okay. People are fed up, and I think COVID has stirred that pot quite a lot. Well, again, we finally have one honest statement here. He said the best way to describe the movement was a cult. Wow, so Aussie Speeding Fines is a cult now. Well, there you go. Who would have thought? I mean, it's just madness. I mean, there are so many holes, so many inconsistencies, so many completely unverifiable claims that have no basis in reality, no evidence to back them up. It is an absolute joke. But that aside, what I want to do now is I want to share with you is just a small number of 100% completely verifiable success stories. So you can go and look these up for yourselves. Again, I've covered these before, but they absolutely clarify with evidence that what the Aussie Speeding Fines guys say in their book most assuredly does work, both to have a matter withdrawn before it goes to court, which is the most often result, as well as having actual matters dismissed in court. So let's have a quick look. So you can see here, this is from Joe. We've just deleted out his email, but all the rest is there. It's an actual email that you can verify there. And he says there, thanks again, another one bites the dust. And as you can see, this is quite clearly an actual photo of a real withdrawal notice. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Okay, and it says, Dear Sir, Madam, recharge of contravened red traffic control signal infringement number, Information has been received regarding the above mentioned charge. The matter was listed in Perth Magistrate Court on 3rd of November 2023, so we're only talking like 1 month ago. As part of the review process undertaken when preparing the papers for prosecution, it's been decided the matter should be withdrawn. WA Police will not be proceeding any further regarding this matter. Now, this is only 1 month old. There is absolutely categorical, verifiable information. There's the actual infringement number there. You can, try and look it up with them or ask under FOI or whatever to prove that was withdrawn before the case went to court because he used that process. Here's another. This one's from Despina. Now, I'm not going to go through the lengthy actual email that she sent through. I've read that out before on the actual the video concerned. But again, here's an actual photograph of the documentation she received confirming that it was being withdrawn. Request to have infringement matter heard, and there's the number. I'm writing a response to your recent request to have the above mentioned matter heard before a magistrate court and wish to advise that I have re-reviewed this matter and have made the decision to withdraw the infringement notice. No further action is required from you in regards to this matter. Should you wish to discuss any details, please contact me. So again, by all means, ring that number, quote that number, and ask them, was this fine really withdrawn? And they will confirm with you 100% that it was. It was listed for court. They sent in all the information from the Aussie Speeding Fines book, maybe from our book, and it was withdrawn. Now, here's another one. Again, as you can see, all I've done is black out the actual email address, but everything else is as we've received it. Dear Mike, I wanted to let you know in 2022, I used the Aussie Speeding Fines book, had 8 fines against me withdrawn, including a protest fine of $1,677.80. Amount saved was $2,735.80. Attached are the withdrawn notices. Again, a big thank you to you and Aussie Speeding Fines. Mark. So, again, let's have a look. Actual verifiable withdrawal notice. You can't make this up. So I'm just going to flick through here. They're stuck together. Now, these are 1, 2. I'm just going to put this down for 1 second. All my pages are stuck together. Sorry, guys. No, it doesn't want to. There we go. It doesn't want to separate. So here are 3. And again, you can do a screenshot. You can see that the actual infringement notice numbers are all completely different numbers. All 3 have been withdrawn. There's the infringement notice numbers. Here is another one. This is his actual protest fine. Again, clearly states categorically on Victoria Police letterhead that the fine was withdrawn. All 100% verified. Now, people might say, oh, you can make up the testimonials, as if we would. Like, what's the point? You can't make up actual letters on police letterhead that prove that. So there's a significant number of testimonials that categorically prove and can be verified that this information works. So you can clearly see for yourselves that absolutely does work. You can clearly see who is truly telling the truth here and who is desperately just trying to uphold a failing agenda. At the end of the day, that article is full of completely baseless claims, and I have provided actual, factual, verifiable evidence, of that fact and why our information and the Aussie Speeding Fines information definitely does work. So please, if you or anyone you know is concerned about a fine or maybe a potential fine, especially during this upcoming Christmas break, which is only a few weeks away, when all the revenue raising goons are going to be out in force, of course, trying to raise as much revenue for the governments as possible, primarily because so many people are choosing to fight their fines rather than just blindly pay them, then please make sure that you arm yourselves with all of that truly incredible information in that Aussie Speeding Fines book before you actually get a fine, to have the absolute best chance of beating it. Again, you'll find a description in the link to the video. Now, what really frustrates me personally about all of this is that news.com.au should well and truly have known better, because I personally called them out about a similar story back in May when they printed another complete load of rubbish. So in case anyone missed that story or missed that video that I did back in May, this is the article. And again, the very first word of the title of the article is blatantly false and misleading. This is deceptive reporting. It says, Judge says sovereign citizens are congesting Aussie courts. No judge actually said anything of the sort. It was only a lowly magistrate that said it. No judge has said that. So this is false, misleading and deceptive reporting by news.com.au. And again, I'm calling them out on this publicly. So-called sovereign citizens are clogging up Australian courts and even hopelessly suing judges for millions. So-called sovereign citizens who erroneously believe they're not subject to Australian law are putting a strain on the country's legal system, according to New South Wales magistrate, not judge, magistrate, Mark Douglas. The self-represented litigants are making pseudo-legal arguments challenging government, tax and legal authority, and in the last 6 months, judicial complaints have increased by 20 to 30%. Now do you see why they're reporting this rubbish? Because there's been a 20 to 30% increase in judicial complaints. That's what it's all about. That's the true essence of the problem. The trend has led to magistrates struggling with their workload. Oh, boo-hoo! Not our problem. Okay, with cases many being filed by sovereign citizens, again, there's no such thing. These are false and misleading claims, taking 3 to 4 times as long as they usually do. The pseudo-legal arguments often used to dispute minor charges involving challenge to the court's jurisdiction, which take longer to resolve. But of course it does, because there isn't any. And we've covered this on heaps of videos and radio shows and live events and all the rest of it. You'll pick up a file and it might be a parking fine, and there might be 300 pages on it in an envelope. And you start to suspect that it's going to be pseudo-legal arguments, Magistrate Douglas said. In January, former New South Wales magistrate, here we go, good old Muppet David Healpern, told news.com.au that not one sovereign citizen case held up in court during his time in the Australian court system. Really? Again, we'll get back to that one too. As the Dean of Law at Southern Cross University, Professor Healpern says that no sovereign citizen has ever successfully proved they are immune from the rule of law in an Australian court. We'll see. He views the trend as people being sucked into what is so blatantly and obviously illogical and non-legal. Not so much, because we just read out a bunch of testimonials that prove the people who run these arguments actually win. And one such website charges $87 for a booklet that claims to be able to get people out of speeding tickets, while another site claims that fines for speeding, parking, red light cameras and more are completely illegal. That's the truth. They boast testimonials from happy anonymous customers claiming to have argued their way out of all manner of fines and charges using the merchant's methods. No, they don't boast. They show you the actual testimonials. I just read out a bunch of them. They're 100% completely verifiable. I've looked into every single one of those cases that they claim have resulted in victory. The list of so-called successes are BS. So how do you explain those actual verifiable testimonials, Mr. Healpern? I'd love to hear your response to that one, mate. And despite their efforts to challenge the jurisdiction, the so-called sovereign citizens have yet to succeed in the Australian courts. Really? Well, here's the thing. I actually wrote to the author of that article and I actually asked him to change his misleading title, and I directed him to the actual specific evidence refuting the claims in his story. But as you can see, you can still go and search that article right up to today, and that false and misleading title still remains, along with, of course, all the false and misleading information in it. So here's the actual email that I wrote to him. You can see his email address. You can see the date. Everything's 100% verifiable. Hi Jack, we write in reference to your article from 8 of May 2023, misleadingly titled Judge Says Sovereign Citizens Are Congesting Aussie Courts, and then put the link. Despite no judge actually saying any such thing, it was merely a magistrate that made the claim, and therefore your title should be changed. We know how much members of the AAP love to fact check things when it suits them, so we urge you to watch this video, and we gave a link, which highlights numerous errors within your article. Whilst we don't expect you to rectify the false and misleading claims made by others, specifically ex-magistrate David Hilpern, who completely falsely claims that he's looked into every single case that has resulted in victory and they're all BS, as we've provided actual documentation from the police and courts proving those successes, we do expect you to correct the article heading. If we do not receive confirmation from you within 24 hours that's been rectified, we'll report this matter to the Australian Communications and Media Authority, which of course is exactly what we did, and no surprises, they really didn't do anything about it. We thank you in advance for addressing this issue, and should you require a valid source of legal information in the future, please don't hesitate to contact us. No surprises, good old Jack never actually bothered reaching out. So, please, by all means, I urge all of you watching this, feel free to write your own emails to these authors, calling them out on their ridiculous, baseless stories. And of course, if you personally have any actual testimonials of your own to share with them to prove that what they are spouting is categorically incorrect, then that would be even better. Now, here's the breakthrough for tonight. Whilst we're on the subject of testimonials, I don't ever show my own personal testimonials for two very distinct reasons. Firstly, people out there seem to think that I'm, somehow someone special and, of course I can do it, but it doesn't mean that they can. So I only ever read out testimonials like the ones that I've just, read out now on this video from ordinary everyday Aussies so that everybody can relate to them and they can understand that anybody can do this. And secondly, I'm obviously, pretty well known to the system, so I have a pretty big target on my back personally, and they obviously want to make an example out of me at every opportunity, which again is something I alluded to way back at the start of this year. So one of my things is just not to show my own personal success stories, just to try and, help reduce that target down a little bit. But given the lengths that they've now gone to try and somehow, magically prove that this information doesn't work, I wanted to share just my very latest court victory, just the most recent one with everyone. And now, of course, most of them are all dropped before they ever get to court, to categorically prove that what this guy Hilpern is saying about these arguments never working in court is purely and simply false. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely categorical, verifiable evidence. There is no way, shape or form that this can be denied. It can be checked with the court. It can be verified 100%. The only thing I've done is remove my date of birth to help avoid any issues with identity fraud. Everything else is there. The case name, the case number, the proof that it was all dropped. You can see all of the highlighted sections there. No evidence to offer. They dragged it all the way to court and they offered no evidence. Prosecutor offers no evidence. Charge is dismissed. Defendant is discharged. I'll show you again. It's signed. It's sealed by the court. You cannot make this stuff up. This is absolute 100 categorical % evidence that this information works. You present this correctly in courts and it will be dropped. They can't proceed with these cases. Now, that should be hopefully more than enough for anybody watching this video to understand the point that I'm making. But I always like to go above and beyond anyone's expectations. So, in addition to showing you the actual court order proving that I won, proving that the council simply provided no evidence because there was none to prove, I also want to very quickly show you the actual legal arguments that I provided to the prosecution and to the court that actually caused them to drop that. So here it is in black and white. These are the actual outlines of submissions that I personally filed in that case that I just showed you. Now, very quickly, subject of the King of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Ireland, living, breathing man, de jure, solemn, natural. If you don't know what those references mean, please make sure, okay, you read our book, listen to our podcast, go through our home study course, because all of that is detailed in there. Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK is the ultimate law within the Commonwealth of Australia, and the court and prosecution are bound by covering Clause 5 of that Act. If you don't understand what that means, again, please go and read covering Clause 5 of the Commonwealth Constitution. Page 2, the first duty of the prosecutor informant is to establish the jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter. That is challenging the jurisdiction of the court. You can't make it any clearer. Page 795 of the Quick-and-Garran Annotated Constitution, authority jurisdiction must be established to the standard of strict exactitude. Please go and read that page. We have a copy of the Quick-and-Garran Annotated Constitution on CD. It's available on our website. Magistrative Court of Noosa cannot act of its own accord. There must be a source or fountain of justice that flows through the court, and pursuant to the Commonwealth Constitution, that source can only flow from the monarch. The preamble and clause 2 of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act dictate that the only valid monarch within the Commonwealth of Australia is the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland and her heirs and successors. Not some fictitious Queen of Australia, not some pretended King of Australia, only the Queen of the King, or the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Refers to the Royal Styles and Titles Act 1973. No equivalent act that allows King Charles III to use or adopt the pretended title of King of Australia. It's there in my submissions in black and white. Let's go to the next page. Nothing on the next page. Submits that the road where the alleged offence occurred is part of the King's Highway network. The prosecution informant Noosa Shire Council has the lawful power or authority to regulate or enforce activity that occurs on the King's Highway when the states only have the lawful power or authority to maintain those highways. They don't have regulation of those highways. They only have the power or authority to maintain them. They have no authority to issue fines. Okay, this is all in the submissions. These are the actual submissions I tendered, and these are what caused the prosecution to tender no evidence and to withdraw that charge. Okay, Monday versus Gill, again, another very, very important case. I've mentioned it in all of our live events, on many of our radio shows. Okay, it's all there. There's the actual filing. That is a copy of the actual submissions that I filed to have the prosecution tender no evidence and the court to dismiss the charge. I just can't make it any clearer than that. So, once again, these media claims are completely false and baseless, and I can personally assure you that these arguments definitely do work when you run them correctly. So please, if you don't yet have that Aussie Speeding Fines book, or you don't yet have our Know Your Rights book, please, there should be links in the description of this video. There should also be links going up in the comments of the video where you can get those right now. And again, they will help you take your knowledge and understanding of these topics to the next level so that you can achieve exactly the same results as those categorically verifiable, 100% accurate testimonials that I read out before, plus my own success. You can do it too. All right, so finally, as I always do at the end of these videos, I am going to finish off with some of the latest memes. And again, of course, some of these do relate to exactly what I'm saying. And the first one, as it says very clearly there, please be careful not to spread fake news. Let's leave that to the experts. In this case, news.com.au. Here's another one along the same lines. Okay, now it's time to go over the carefully selected stories that have been chosen to manipulate your emotions and thinking, just like what was reported in news.com.au. Now, why do I go through all these memes? As it says there, okay, right there, because it upsets the New World Order psychos. And that's exactly what we want to do. we want to upset them, we want to push back against them, and I urge everyone to please do that. Again, on the same topic of this news.com, in fact, both of those news.com.au stories, okay? This is what you need to see through all the crap, because that's what those stories are. They are absolute blatant crap. So the binoculars you need to see through all the crap that some people talk, again, in this instance, news.com.au. Now, to round this all off, please, if you don't fit in, then you're probably doing the right thing. Okay, don't buy into this rubbish. Don't fit into the mainstream media narrative. Do your own thing and push back at every opportunity. And finally, okay, I'm sure a lot of you have been called crazy or conspiracy theorists or all the rest of it. So please do take note of this. Okay, you are not crazy. You are awake in an insane world. And clearly, when they start, spouting that kind of rubbish in the mainstream media, the whole world has quite obviously gone crazy. For that exact reason, most people will call you crazy. You are not crazy. The world is. Please keep that in mind. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. And a reminder, again, of course, there's no live video update tomorrow night, Sunday. Do have also another commitment on Thursday night that I forgot about when I mentioned this the other night. So, again, there's going to be no live update then, but we will be back with another live radio show on Tuesday night. Again, there should be a link going up in the comment section, how to access that between 8 and 10 p.m. And again, we have put up a whole bunch of new links on the top of our radio show page. So if you have had problems over the past few weeks listening to that radio show live, via the old links or via TuneIn, please use the new links that you will find on our radio show page. And as always, we would urge you to please make use of all the various resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. We need that this year more than ever before. Of course, there's plenty of information on all the websites that I've mentioned. There's links in the description. These videos, again, completely free to watch. You'll find the links on our BitChute channel and also under the videos tab on our Facebook page. And we are uploading some here and there to our YouTube channel as well, if you want to follow that. The radio shows, as I've said, completely free to listen to every Tuesday night. If you miss a radio show, you want to revisit it, it costs less than $5 a week to join up as a podcast member. If you want to go above and beyond that, again, we do urge you to please grab our ebook, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. That Aussie Speeding Fines book, which we have now categorically proven beyond all possibilities, absolutely does work, just as we say it does. These guys have been around for 16 years. You can't be in existence for that long if the information doesn't work. It's as simple as that. And of course, we know a lot of people are struggling financially, so please stop throwing away, good money after bad at these unsecured loans, your personal loans, your credit cards, things like that. They can be very simply discharged with that tried, tested, and proven 4-step process from that book. Again, you can get these individually. There's links in the description. You can get them as part of the combo pack. You do, of course, get that bonus Know Your Rights bag thrown in at no extra charge. We do, of course, have our caps and beanies. Had all sorts of wild and woolly weather over the last week or so, especially if you're on the eastern states anywhere. So grab those caps and beanies. People recognise the logo. They come up and have a chat. And, of course, we do have that home study course, which is an invaluable resource tool for going through all the information that we cover on our 2.5-day live presentations, our live events. There's 17 DVDs with all of the presentations, 3 custom-made workbooks with all of the slides we go through, sections that you can write notes. You can pause, rewind, fast forward in the comfort of your own home. So again, grab that now so you've got all this information ready to go through as we enter the upcoming Christmas and New Year break. So I'm going to leave things there. As I said, no live video on Thursday. There will be a live video next Sunday, and we will be back with a radio show on Tuesday. Until then, have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you all next week.